the agenda.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back at 12 after 8 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, the 15th of March 2022. It's wet and overcast in my part of the world. I make dua, inshallah, that wherever you are, you're enjoying good health. But if you're on the roads, please do take care. The roads are pretty hazardous, slippery, and you have some mad drivers taking chances on the roads as well. That's the one issue. Alhamdulillah, let's move forward with our interview, our first interview for the morning. And that is with Dr. Shameem Jamdullay. He is the Senior Research Scientist at the UCT Lung Institute in the Western Cape. And we are going to look at the unpacking of the National Coronavirus Command Council meeting yesterday. Now, neither did Dr. Shameem Jamdullay or I attend the meeting, but we have an idea of the type of issues that possibly were discussed. Let's look at what the way is forward in terms of coronavirus restrictions, masking, sanitizing, social distancing, and all of those issues, and also the state of disaster here in South Africa. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Shameem Jamdullay. Welcome to the program, and always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Walaikum salam. Thank you for having me and thank you for trusting me to unpack that story, as you said.
Okay, right. I know you were not at the Command Council meeting, but I think you have an idea of the type of issues that were possibly discussed and how we in South Africa move forward as far as COVID restrictions are concerned. However, I must say to you that I'm also concerned about possible future impacts regarding coronavirus, the fifth wave, and also what we've just seen about the new outbreak in China. Is that then going to be alarm bells as far as the global community is concerned?
Yes, so maybe we can try to unpack what transpired or what we think would transpire from the meeting that happened yesterday. I think it would follow the logic that has actually been used across the world right now with some of the measures that have changed. But I also want to remind everybody that during this pandemic, and especially around our last wave, the National Command Council has remained guided by evidence. And it is because of the evidence that they unpacked and that they actually saw unfolding in front of them that they decided that there was no need to change the restrictions that were in place at the time to make it harsher. And they were right because Omicron did not lead to the number of hospitalization that were even close to what we experienced with Beta or Delta. And there were not as many deaths as we saw from the wave that we had with Omicron. And now, with the number of cases going down, I believe yesterday we had less than 1,000 cases for the whole country. We know that certain measures can be dropped. For example, the wearing of masks outside doesn't hold anymore because we know that the outdoor ventilated, aerated space is obviously not very conducive for transmission in the first place. And we will probably have certain measures like the need to produce a negative PCR within the last 72 hours to get entry into the South African territories would probably be lifted as well. And I think these are probably two of the main measures that would be changed or that would have been discussed at that meeting.
Okay, so that's going to probably remain in place. It does make sense, does it not? Because possibly because we have been uh, sanitizing, masking up, social distancing to a relative degree, it does seem, even though the majority of the country has not been vaccinated, that somehow or the other we are at a point of herd immunity, are we not?
We are, and I believe that the wearing of masks indoors will probably be upheld, and that is good because we also do know that the fifth wave is going to come in a few weeks' time. And that's inevitable because that's the natural course of the epidemic right now. This is what we've seen for the last 2 years. We don't know. Or we don't actually have any guarantee that it's going to be as mild as Omicron. So we have
Ah,
to stay on our toes. People need to understand that we are living in a context of, an evolving epidemic with an emerging disease. So it's something that we're still learning. We do, as you said, have a certain level of herd immunity that we attain against severe disease, mostly through, a natural infection or an infection of people during the few waves that we've known. And regarding the vaccine mandate, I think because the government and the authorities and the researchers have realized that uh, close to 80% of the population has attained immunity against severe disease, either through vaccination or through a past infection. There is no real push that you're seeing right now for people to get vaccinated.
okay. Now I hear that there's been a call, obviously by the health department, for those people who have received the J&J vaccine. They are now calling on that group of people to please go for their third booster shot. What more do you know about that? And let's assume you have those people who are now very complacent and feel that they don't see the need to go for that third shot. What are the risks of not taking that third J&G booster shot? J&J booster shot.
Again, we let ourselves be guided by evidence. And right now, I think that the first thing if you allow me to actually remind people that we don't know what's going to come in the fifth wave. We don't know what type of virus we'll be facing. Remember, not so long ago, we had Delta that was affecting and killing people indiscriminate of age or comorbidity in a lot of cases. So I think that booster dose is also extremely important, or much more important, for a specific population, the older people, the people with comorbidities, and also women who are pregnant. And I don't think I need to remind you that in South Africa, we do not really have a very healthy population when you think of general health. We have so many different comorbidities, whether it's infectious in nature like HIV or TB, or whether it's non communicable like heart diseases, a weight problem. A lot of people are either overweight or obese. And so I think pushing for that booster shot, especially for people who've had the J&J, is probably, on the safer side of things because we know that these people, all the people who most at risk of developing severe disease if they get infected by a variant that is going to come around in a few weeks' time. So it's again one of the measures that we trying to keep rolling to not have a burden on the hospital system because that has been the perennial problem that we have faced during the course of this epidemic. We get to a point where so many people get infected and get sick that it actually paralyzed the whole health system. And it's not just people affected by COVID that are going to suffer, it's also all the other people with acute or chronic problems. And we do know the importance of having a running hospital in South Africa.
Okay, as we know, flu season is around the corner. Um, with people being urged, very especially those people that had taken the J&J. So they go for their third booster shot. Is it still wise for them, on top of the booster shot, to take the flu vaccine? How important are taking of flu vaccinations, especially this season? How important is it that we all go for our flu shots, whether you've taken the J&J or any other vaccination as well?
Thank you for this question. This is actually a very, very important question. And I will use my own example. Over the past 2 years, because I've been working in a respiratory research unit where we get samples from people who have respiratory diseases, and this includes flu. And because we come across these patients and these samples, we are mandated to actually take the flu vaccine at my work. And this is what I've done now for the last 2 years. And my vaccine last year against the flu actually coincided with the time when I was eligible for the COVID vaccine. And what I remember happened at the time was that they advised that there was at least 1 month between your first vaccine and your second vaccine. And the reason why it's also important to actually take the flu vaccine this season, this year, is because over the last 2 years, with the borders remaining closed, in the first year of COVID, and then, the borders gradually opening up to travel later towards the end of winter on our side last year, this would have meant that fewer people have been exposed to the flu over the last 2 years. And your body works and your immune system works in a way that is very reliant and dependent on a memory. So the longer you've not encountered a microbe, the greater the chances that your immune system has forgotten a little bit about that microbe and takes a little bit longer and gets a little bit uh, more challenge in the response that it will have to this microbe. So, what the flu vaccine will help people with is to remind our immune system this is what the flu virus looks like, and this is what we need in terms of a reaction by our immune system to fight it when we do encounter it in a real life setup during the flu season. And I believe that older people and people who are always the people more at risk of severe disease with the seasonal flu, if these people catch it this time around and they've not had it last year or the year before, it could lead to more severe disease. Not as severe as what we've seen with some of the worst COVID variant, but it could actually incapacitate you. If you're still working, so I think it is in the best interest of the people who are more at risk, like the older people, pregnant women, people who have comorbidities that may give them respiratory distress. These are the people who should definitely be going for their flu jab. And I can tell you that even on my side, in around a month and a half time, we will be queuing up for our flu vaccine as well, where I work.
Okay, great. I have one more question, but before we go to my final question, we have a question from a viewer, and that is you, Leah Lynette Robery. Walaikum assalam to you. She asks the following question: Professor, don't you think that governments the world over should be launching healthy eating campaigns? Building our immune systems should be trending. This would possibly mean an addiction purge, not good for the economy, right? So
Uh,
basically, she's talking about healthy eating campaigns.
Definitely. What I think we need to keep in mind, and this is a very good observation, alhamdulillah, that this person is making. We should remind ourselves that, COVID has affected mostly the people with the unhealthy lifestyle. COVID has been, affecting, making people, who have comorbidities that are a lot due to the way we eat, like diabetes, like hypertension, like our weight. So it was always going to help to actually change this lifestyle and bring some form of balance in the way we live our life. And it unfortunately took an epidemic of the size of COVID for us to actually understand or be reminded how important it is to live a good lifestyle. And I think that moving forward, we need to actually keep that, and it will most definitely have an impact when we do face one of the emerging microbes like we've had with COVID. We do know that these will still be the most at risk people based on their health status.
Absolutely, Leah. Lynette, thank you indeed for that question. I hope Dr. Jamdali has answered you adequately. My final question is, what do you make of the current outbreak in China? What is that telling the rest of the world?
I think a lot of these happen, driven by behavior, and a lot of the outbreak or a lot of the surge that we see, like in the form of the waves, happen because there is a mobility that changes, whether because of, like a religious reason or political reason, or even changes in the restriction that people have in place. And, China being China, there is something that's happening there, but you can never really know and be sure what it is that's happening there. And I think, do we need to worry? I can't tell you, for sure if we need to worry. Do we know that we're going to get variants emerging, on a regular basis? Yes, we do know that. So I think we already equipped with all the information, whether it's from China, whether it's coming from elsewhere, we kind of know what to expect. And I think just based on this, we need to stay on our toe, as I said a little bit earlier, and remind ourselves that there is still a transition that is happening into the new normal until we really get confirmation that COVID has become endemic and just like the seasonal flu.
Dr. Shameem Jamdali, Senior Research Scientist at the UCT Lung Institute. Always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you indeed for your
Right.
expertise and insights on this matter. Till the next time, as always, Salaam alaikum to you. 8:29 news and views right here on Salam Media. Stay with us. Lots more coming to you this morning on the show. And please do become a part of the conversation.